Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day. I don't know, whatever time you're listening to this. Hi, how are you? My name is Brian Lloyd. This is Screenland. We are going to go right into it because honestly, it's a busy week in film and in TV. So yeah, fuck it. Let's just go in straight in, no kissing. Here we go. Okay, I have to start with this because a lot of people are talking about it, and it is, you know, right. Okay, I am recording this on Thursday afternoon, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but every week I do a review slot on Ireland AM. I've done it now for, I want to say, the last 4 or 5 years. I really enjoy it. I've always found it really interesting. I don't like being on camera, which may shock some people. I force myself to do it. Do you know that kind of way? I force myself to do it. I have to get over myself. I just have to, grit my teeth and get through it. And this is 5+ years of doing stuff on camera. I just have to force my way into it, And I really, like I said, I really enjoy it. But, this week, there was a last minute change. They said, hey, look, listen, can you cover All's Fair? And I was like, oh yeah, okay, sure, yeah. I mean, I hadn't done TV in a while on the slot. It'd been mainly kind of geared more towards the movies. There was a time there when I was doing TV and movies. Then it kind of switched back to movies. And I was like, yeah, sure, there's a bit of a change, but okay, grand. When we came to do the slot today, the joys of live television were such that I only got to talk about this for about, I want to say, half a minute at max, and I did not get a chance to delve into how terrible this is. Jesus suffering Christ, this show is so bad that it honestly, there is a suction to how terrible this is. The whole thing about black holes, that they actually pull in the gravity around where it exists. That's what All's Fair is like. I mean, I have lost real respect. I now think less of Naomi Watts and Sarah Paulson and Glenn Close and, Niecy Nash, everyone involved in this. I didn't really have a high opinion of Ryan Murphy going into this. I definitely didn't have a high opinion of Kim Kardashian going into this. But I've lost respect for everyone across the board. Why is this so terrible? Why is this pissing people off so much? I think one of the reasons why this is so terrible, right, is because it is so conspicuous about wealth. Now, there have been TV shows, there have been movies about wealthy people, the accumulation, the loss of it, all the rest of it, right? And even when you think of something like, say, Dallas or Dynasty or Falcon Crest or even Mad Men on some level, right? When they show characters being rich, being wealthy, they're usually talking about it in a way that reflects on what their character has had to do to get it. So it's the sort of thing of like their wealth has alienated them from where they originally came from, or it's making them do terrible things to keep on to it, or it serves as a reminder of the emptiness within their lives, right? And that generally is kind of, you hear like stand-up comedians talk about this, that like the joke always is, a comedian has made it when they stop making jokes about being broke and start making jokes about airport food and airport lounges. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you know that they've kind of lost the thing. And this is not a purity equals poverty rant. That's not it at all. But in All's Fair, the way in which wealth and being rich is presented is so, I don't want to say evil. Evil is probably too strong a word, but it's really like, it's dark. You know what I mean? It's dark because everyone is so fucking happy about being rich. And I'm sure being rich is great, you know? But the way it's presented in this is that, like, oh no, this is exactly what life is all about, is being fuck-ass wealthy and having your, you know, your Dior dresses and your silk pajamas in your private jet with your Gucci bag placed just so that it's perfectly in focus. And, you know, sitting around your elegantly appointed conference room where you're talking about some vaginal injections that you got and some radiotherapy done on your arse. I mean, and that's I'm not exaggerating, by the way. That's a whole scene. There's an entire scene in the third episode, where Kim Kardashian just basically does SpawnCon for the beauty cosmetic industry for about 5 minutes. And everyone around the table is like, oh no, that sounds awful. Oh no, you're getting injections in your vagina. And like Glenn Close is just kind of like, everyone's playing along with this and being like, and you're like, what the fuck? What are you people at? Like, you know? I mean, at least Naomi Watts had the good sense to look vaguely embarrassed in this. But like Sarah Paulson and Glenn Close and, you know, these are gifted, talented performers that have done serious work. And I'm not saying they can't do funny stuff, and I'm not saying they can't do kind of, you know, comedic work, or, you know, work that's a little bit more indulgent or a little easy. I'm not saying that, but like, Jesus Christ, like, none of yous were that broke, surely, that yous needed to slum it, really, doing something like this. And like, another point to this as well is that I think this is a great example of why rich people just shouldn't make art, okay? They just shouldn't do it, because it is so divorced from how people, normal people, everyone else, literally everyone else, they are so divorced from how normal people speak, act, talk to other people, how they go through the world, that when you're watching this, it's like watching fucking Aliens. Do you know what I mean? Not the film Aliens. I'm talking about, it's like watching aliens interact with one another. Do you know that kind of way? It is so divorced from reality. It is so divorced from normal emotional responses. There's another point I have to make here, and I'm worried now that I say this and it's going to sound misogynistic, and I don't mean it to. I really, really don't. But I have to just talk about this because, and I might get this indelicately. I don't know, but I think it bears saying, right? I think Kim Kardashian fucked with her face too much, and now she can't emote like a normal person, because there's a scene in the first episode when she finds out that her husband, who's this NFL star that's like 10 years younger than her or something, and she finds out that he's going to divorce her, and she's, you know, they all, Naomi Watts and Niecy Nash find out about it and rush to her home, right? And the camera whips around, or sorry, Kim Kardashian whips around and she's got like tears in her eyes, but her face is just this expression of nothing. There is like nothing going on. Her face just looks frozen. And throughout the entire thing, her face looks frozen. You know what I mean? And then you look at like Naomi Watts, and I mean, she's very, very dull in this, but at least her face looks like it's registering human emotions. Kim Kardashian's doesn't. And she shouldn't act. I mean, Patti LuPone is absolutely correct. Some people just can't act. Kim Kardashian is one of these people. She can't act. She just can't do it. It's as simple as that. I can't do a lot of things. People can't do stuff. There is no way that you can be good at everything. And Kim Kardashian is not a good actor. She can't act. It's as simple as that. And, you know, the fact that, like, this ties into the reality TV series, The Kardashians. Apparently, I've been told this, that there was, like, I haven't seen it, but I was told that there were episodes in The Kardashians where she meets with Ryan Murphy and does a whole pitch session with him. And then here we are, here's the end product, like. And then she's doing a law degree herself and stuff. Like, I mean, if I was a woman or if I was a solicitor or a barrister, I'd be watching this fucking furious. And I nearly was. I nearly did go into law. Much to the disappointment of my father, I didn't. But the way, like, it doesn't even go into jurisprudence. It doesn't even go into, prenuptial agreements or anything like that, because they're all divorce lawyers and all the rest of it. Doesn't even go into that, right? Doesn't even talk about that in any kind of meaningful way. It's just a bare bones setup for the whole thing, because it's all about money. This is it. This is all just about getting money, no matter what. And like, the fact that women lawyers in this are only let because there are men lawyers, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Whatever I'm trying to say. Like, the fact that they only give a shit about his money. That it's just about, don't get mad, get half. And, yeah, okay, fine. That's a factor in the divorce law industry. That is true. Marriage Story did it very, very well. And even though that's kind of told from the men's perspective and, whatever, but it's true. It is a factor in it, you think this... I didn't read the Guardian review, but I can probably guess what it was like. And you're probably listening to this thinking, okay, I'm sure this is hyperbole. I'm sure this is not as bad as it seems. You're probably thinking I'm being unduly harsh just for the sake of clicks or plays or streams or whatever. Listener, please believe me, right? This is the worst fucking TV show I have ever seen. Full stop, end of sentence. Okay? It's that bad. It's really that bad. We're not lying to you. I'm not lying to you. This is the worst TV show I have ever seen. I've seen a lot of TV, right? The streaming era has really done a number on the amount of shit TV, okay? There's a lot of it out there. I've seen a good amount of it. A lot of it is pretty poor. This is on another level of how bad it is. I hope everyone involved with this is ashamed of themselves, because they deserve to be ashamed of themselves. This is terrible. Ryan Murphy needs to be stopped at all costs. He can't get away with this. This cannot be allowed to continue, right? He has to be stopped. How is he still getting work? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, the fucking Hernandez brothers thing was just, like, again, there was a darkness to it, and not in terms of tone and content or whatever, but just in how it was kind of exploitative. And the Ed Gein thing was the same as well. And like, it's just, yeah, I can't really get into, I don't feel like I'm doing this justice. This was awful. All's Fair is, wow. Like, it hurt me watching it, how bad it was. You know what I mean? It hurt me. So, fuck. Yeah, there you go. That's All's Fair. Let's talk about something actually good. Let's talk about Die My Love. This is by Lynne Ramsey. Stars Jennifer Lawrence, Robert Pattinson. You go into, like, I was going into this thinking, okay, Gina Rowlands, Woman Under the Influence. It's about, a young wife going off to the countryside with her husband, just giving birth, and her mother-in-law, Jennifer Lawrence's mother-in-law, is played by Sissy Spacek. So there was a kind of an element as well of like, this is more kind of like a psychological horror, I think, because the way it kind of chops and changes in time frame, but also in tone. There are certain moments in it where it's just that really kind of angry exhaustion that happens with parenthood, that you're just knifing at each other and all the rest of it. And then it goes from that into full-blown, almost kind of like psychosis, that like Jennifer Lawrence's character is so isolated and so exhausted that she is losing her grip on reality. And, is losing her own sense of self, and she's trying to conform to this idea of motherhood and wifedom, and she can't do it, and it's not working. And even when she does conform to it in some respect, it still doesn't fill that emptiness inside of her, and that's really fucking powerful. And like Lynne Ramsey has done this before. If you've seen We Need to Talk About Kevin, that's kind of touches on regretful motherhood, the idea of, women taking on the burden of motherhood and it maybe exacerbating certain existing traits, or kind of like the idea of what is left to women when they do this, and how it just nothing like, that's the common thing you hear, is that nothing changes for a man, everything changes for a woman when it comes to parenthood. The man still gets to go out and work and all the rest of it and be around adults and what have you, whereas women are generally tend to stay at home and be caregivers and all the rest of it. And like what the film does very well, I think, is that you see Jennifer Lawrence's character interact with other mothers, and they're all like, oh, my first year I went a bit loopy too, and it's like, how fucking normalized that is, that this takes such a toll on the personhood that you lose all sense of yourself. And then even when Sissy Spacek's character tries to kind of come to the house and kind of bring Jennifer Lawrence kind of back to, I don't know, reality or whatever you want to call it, and she again is just reinforcing how fucked up it is that women go through this, even though she herself is losing her grip on reality. Sissy Spacek's character, and has always done, like, she sleepwalks with a shotgun, and it's just, it's really kind of like a psychological horror mixed with a ghost story, kind of mixed with just a really dark character study. And then you compare that to Anemone, the Daniel Day-Lewis film, and it's really interesting, right? Because both films kind of are in conversation with each other, I think, in that, like, Anemone is about isolation. Daniel Day-Lewis's character is this British soldier who goes off into the woods and lives alone and abandons his wife, played by Samantha Morton, and his son, played by Samuel Bottomley, because he's been accused of war crimes. And it's very evocative of, like, Soldier F and Bloody Sunday. But what I felt was different here was that the isolation, it was almost kind of like initially treated as a positive, because what's going on is right, Daniel Day-Lewis's on-screen son has gone AWOL from the British Army, and Sean Bean, who plays his brother, who plays Daniel Day-Lewis's brother in this, goes out to find him, to convince him to come back to the home and come back to his son and talk to his son and try to convince him to go back to the army and go back to, whatever. And Daniel Day-Lewis's character is all like angry and taciturn, and he's resentful, and he's got all this bitterness about his life. And, like, one of the first kind of big dialogue scene between Day-Lewis and Sean Bean, and it's mostly Day-Lewis in this, where he talks about meeting a priest that he and Sean Bean's characters knew when they were young. And he describes in, like, just really vivid detail shitting on him. I mean, literally shitting on him. And it's hinted at that well, it's not hinted at, it's actually explicitly said, what am I saying, that the priest sexually abused Daniel Day-Lewis's character, and this was his, like, sort of long-awaited revenge. And it's just like, the idea that, like, the isolation that Daniel Day-Lewis's character is corrosive, it has corroded away different parts of him, but the slow return of human connection with Sean Bean convinces him to come home. Whereas in Die My Love, the isolation that Jennifer Lawrence's character, it forces her to go inward, it forces her to kind of, like, break down, But when people come to meet her, and, Robert Pattinson and Sissy Spacek try to reach her, it doesn't work because they themselves are like, oh, well, just get over it. You're fine. Don't worry about it, And I think that's kind of where it was kind of interesting because, or at least not interesting, but I feel like why Anemone was a bit lacking, It was a bit... simplistic might be too strong a word, but it definitely felt undercooked, And it felt like, the director, this is Ronan Day-Lewis, and this is his debut film. And you can tell it is. Not in the sense of that it looks sloppy or anything like that, but it's really got a sense of like he is firing everything he can at the screen. He is trying to do all of it all at once. Make it look as good as possible. Some new trick in every scene. Some scenes look like a Tarkovsky film. Other scenes look like something from David Lynch, where there's this sort of like dreamlike remove. Then other scenes are very much like, Robert Elswit and Paul Thomas Anderson, where, Daniel Day-Lewis's face is just illuminated by candlelight and stuff, and it made me think of There Will Be Blood. And it's just, you can see that he's trying to do so much instead of just, having a consistent style and a consistent idea about the film, instead of just being all wrapped up in how, unique everything has to look, This film, Anemone, left me pretty cold. I mean, it felt like a real slog to get through. It felt at times impenetrable, and then at times kind of almost numbingly basic, I'm glad that Daniel Day-Lewis is back working. I'm glad that he, found something that convinced him to come back. He co-wrote this, I don't know if writing is his strong suit, to be honest, because some of the dialogue in this is very, very, very clunky. And I think that, I think Day-Lewis is at his best when he is fully enriched in the character, and that character is someone that we know, or at least a character that we're able to recognize, like even somebody like Reynolds Woodcock in Reynolds Woodcock in Phantom Thread, we all know someone who's really pedantic and really mercurial and a bit of a dick, but then you can't deny that they're actually really good at what they do. And you kind of have to learn to forgive that. That's a very common experience if you're working the arts or entertainment or media or culture or whatever, or even just around. Kind of like that is a common experience. Someone who's really good at what they do, but they're a prick to be around. That's very, very relatable. And what Daniel Day-Lewis's character is going through in this is not relatable. And I haven't even got to the whole thing about like Soldier F and Bloody Sunday and how it's treated in this. Like, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's done badly, but maybe it kind of is, Like it suggests a lot of shame that I don't think really exists. And I don't want to go any further into it because I feel like I'd be giving it away. And B, I don't think I'm equipped to talk about that properly, or at least in a educated way. So I'm gonna nip that there. But yeah, Die My Love and Anemone, similar vibes. Die My Love is the better of the two. Now, what I do want to get onto. Oh, one more film. Oh, no, two more films. The Choral. This is Ray Fiennes, Nicholas Hytner, Alan Bennett, about a choral society in northern England during World War One. This thing pretty much writes itself. You can guess what this is like. It's lovely. It's very gentle. It's very Alan Bennett. It's about the idea of class structure and hierarchy is a big thing in this England, in the early 20th century, huge thing. But in the choral society, it's, each to their own according to their ability. It's quite a socialist kind of thing. And, it's lovely. It's really pretty. Would I be rushing out to the cinema to see this? No. Would I bring my ma to watch this? Absolutely. She wanted to go to the cinema. She wanted something to see. I'd say, come on, let's go see the Choral. I could sit through it again. Like, it's that pleasant. It's that inoffensive. Ray Fiennes is good. Ray Fiennes is very good in it. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, that's damning with faint praise, but it's fine. It's good. It's it's enjoyable. It has its moments. It's an Alan Bennett, that kind of way. You know exactly what you're getting here. It's going to be, lovely and sad, and a notion of a world that no longer exists. But yeah, lovely. Now I want to talk about Predator Badlands. Fucking hell, right? Wow. I loved this so fucking much. Now, Dan Trachtenberg did Prey, which was this talk about a film that just fucking zips, man. Prey was that. It was kind of like a prequel to the Predator movies, where a Predator ship crash lands in America in the 1700s, and the Native Americans are trying to track the Predator and kill it because they think it might be some sort of demon or something like that. It's brilliant. Prey is fucking brilliant. It is a crime that people didn't get to see that in cinemas because it was released during COVID and it went straight to Disney Plus. And I remember thinking at the time when that was on Disney Plus, it was like, oh, this is so fucking good this is so good for streaming. Fucking hell, maybe this is going to turn around, because at the time, like, Netflix were just dumping shite films onto their service, and Prime Video was doing the same as well. And you're just like, what the fuck is going on here? And then Prey came along, and I was like, oh wow, this is actually okay. Maybe this can be done. In hindsight, Prey was made for a cinema. It just happened to end up on streaming because of COVID. And then looking now at Predator Badlands, you can see that Dan Trachtenberg knew exactly what he was doing then and now. And yeah, I thought this was so good. It's set in the far-flung future. You see more of the Predator. They're called Yautja. You see more of their culture in this, and hunting, as we know, is a big part of their culture. And the main Predator in this, who his name is Deck, and he's played by a stuntman who has a long double-barreled name that I am blanking on, but he's brilliant. He essentially is cast out by his clan. His older brother is killed, and he finds his way to this remote planet that's kind of the deepest, darkest hunting zone for the predators, that anyone who goes there dies immediately. But he says, I'm going to go there and kill this mythical beast and bring it back, and then I'll be accepted into my clan, and then I'll kill my father because I may have said too much. Anyways, while he's there, he meets Elle Fanning, and Elle Fanning is an android who's been cut in half. And he forms a bond with her because he kind of views her as a tool that he will use to hunt the Kalisk, which is the creature that they're trying to find. And it really becomes a kind of a buddy cop thing. Or almost kind of like Girl Friday, actually. His Girl Friday, if you want to even go that far with it. Because she's this like chatterbox that's, trying to give him all this information and trying to help him. And he's just being very sort of taciturn. And he's, he speaks with the clicks and with the kind of the growls and the and like even the dialogue that he has is so focused, and there isn't a bit of colour in it. Whereas Elle Fanning's character is all colour and all zippy one-liners and just, funny, that kind of way. It's funny. And what I found gas, I was talking to Darren Mooney late of the 250 podcast, And he was saying, this is like PG-13 in the US. And I was like, what? Get the fuck. And it's 15A here in Ireland. And again, I laugh at the censors, because the fact that no humans are killed in this, it's just androids getting ripped apart and creatures getting ripped apart. It's not humans. They're allowed to say, oh, well, no one gets killed in this. It's just robots and dinosaurs and stuff. So, PG-13, 15A, totally fine. Yeah, it's really fucking gory, and it's really, like, vicious how it goes. But I love this, right? Because first of all, you do not actually have to have seen any of the previous Predator films. You could come into this pretty cold, and you could still enjoy it. That's great writing right there. It's 107 minutes long. Fucking hell. I have forgotten how good it feels to watch a 90-minute, 100-minute film. And it just has a lovely pace to it. It just goes, you know what I mean? It just really kind of like it sits together. It's edited so well. There's not an ounce of fat on any of it, It's so refreshing to see that. That focus, not economical, focused storytelling that you just don't see anymore. And even Alien Earth had moments where I was like, okay, I know what you're doing here. We can skip through this. You're spinning the wheels here a bit. Not in Predator Badlands, man. Man, it's all about just like, not even like go, relentless. It is very pacey, but it's very much like, okay, this is what's happening. Here's what's happened. There it is. You need a minute to process? You good? You got it? Great, let's go. It doesn't linger. I love that. The action set pieces are done very, very well. The cinematography, very, very well done. Music by Sarah Schachner, and who was the other person? Shit, was it David Fleming? I can't remember. The score is great. The score is fantastic. Yeah, this was so good. This was so good. If you just want a really well-made sci-fi thriller that's got a lot of tact to it, a lot of tactile feeling to it, that's punchy, this is it, man. Fucking hell. I came out of this loving it. I was like, great. And I even if you're not into sci-fi action movies and you're not into Predator and all the rest of it, but you want something entertaining and enjoyable, man, this is it. Go see it. I'm not kidding. Go see it. It's that good. You will not regret it. So good. Just I was so pleased. I was so pleased walking out of it. I really was so pleased walking out of it. And I hope Dan Trachtenberg does more work. Apparently they're doing a third. He had a trilogy in mind. So I'd love to see what the third one is. Now I would say the last scene in this kind of sets it up for a third one. I don't think they need to go there. But if they did, it would be funny. And I feel like I'm even saying too much in saying that, I always thought I actually had... Fuck it, we'll just go for this. I actually had a pitch. A really good pitch written for a Predator movie, right? Do you want to hear it? Okay, I'll give it to you. My pitch is... It's kind of like Prey. In that Predator lands in a historical landscape. What if he landed in medieval Celtic Ireland, right? In the middle of, the mythological cycle, maybe the Ulster cycle, right? And it's not one predator, it's a group of predators. It's an outcast clan. And they're actually, like, I think it's like either the Fomorians or the Fir Bolg, like one of the races that were mentioned in the Book of Invasions. And it's all about, like, the predators interacting with, Fionn McCool or Satanta or, the Knights of the Red Hand. Or, sorry, the Knights of the Red Branch, I think it was. Or just, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of thing, like, as in, like, they were there in that, and that's what was happening, like. Because we don't have, like, obviously, Irish mythology is all very, one, it's super violent, but also as well, there's that thing of like, is there historicity involved in it? Like, did some of this actually happen? You know, were the Fir Bolg and were the Fomorians actually, you know, possibly prehistoric, you know, Neanderthals or Cro-Magnons that, you know, that kind of, there's all this sort of theories about it I've read. But yeah, drop the predators into medieval Ireland and see what happens. Because it was already talked that we're going to like drop the predators into, you know, feudal Japan or something. I feel like, yeah, that's there. You could do that. Feels kind of obvious though. But like drop them into Ireland, you know, during the time of like Strongbow and the Norman invasions. Do you know what I mean? Something like that. That could be cool. Won't happen, but you know, I just kind of thought maybe a comic book actually might be the way to go about that. Now that I think about it, because I know they've done Predator comic book, like Alien versus Predator was like, I think it started as a comic book, so that could work. Coffee. But yeah, Predator Badlands, it was so good. I can't, that's my film of the week for sure. Absolutely worth seeing. I feel like now that I hear myself, I'm kind of thinking, am I just being so fucking obvious straight man that I'm like, yeah, All It's Fair was shit, the Ryan Murphy one was shit, and Predator Badlands was class. I swear, it's not. I'm not kidding. All's Fair was that bad. It really was that bad. I'm not making it up. It really was that bad. And Predator Badlands is this good. It just happens that it falls along certain, I don't know, interests, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here. Okay, that is my lot for this week. I will be back next week. I am super busy with stuff. I am going to try get a guest. I keep fucking doing this every time. I keep stringing this on. I'm so sorry. Oh God. And the reason why I keep pushing this out is because we're still getting work. The bathroom is 90% done. We still have to finish a few bits, and I can't get a guest into the house because it's a long story. But I'm basically we're waiting for things to be finished with the bathroom, and it generally tends to be sort of last minute, so it's like I get a text and be like, oh hey, listen, can you be there at 12 o'clock? There's an electrician coming, or there's a plumber coming to do whatever. So I can't really kind of schedule a guest until it's done. You don't care about any of this, you know. This is champagne problems, blah 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 blah. Doesn't matter, whatever. Hope you enjoyed the show. Definitely leave a comment. Definitely leave a rating if you're enjoying the show. Like I said, be back next week. Hope you have a good rest of your week. Please don't watch All's Fair. I'm not doing justice to how bad it is. Please don't watch it out of curiosity. It's that bad. Okay, I'm gone. See you later. Bye.